Welcome inside another edition of Tech Talks presented by EGP Document Solutions. I'm Wiley Ballard and pleased to be joined by a personal friend of mine, a fellow Georgia Tech alum, and one of the stars of the world of tennis here in July of 2023. Chris Eubanks. Chris, man, I can't imagine how many people have been trying to talk to you, to hear your story. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Tech Talks.
Wiley, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun. It's always fun to be able to kind of talk with you and be able to just kind of, let everything settle and talk things through with the Georgia Tech family. So, no, it's really, really cool. And thanks for having me.
Well, it's been over a week since your quarterfinal run came to an end at Wimbledon. Have you had a chance to exhale at all? I mean, how have you spent the last week or so since returning home?
My first 2 days, I kind of spent just catching up on errands. I hadn't been home in 3 months, so there were some things that needed to be done. So that's what I spent for my Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday it started to try to get business back to usual. Went to the gym, workout, and then after that, said, you know what, I'll probably put the rackets down for a few days to give my body and shoulder a little extra rest. So again, Tuesday, same thing, right into the gym, done for the day. And then Wednesday was when things started to really ramp back up. So I took a few days off, still wanted to be productive during that time. And come beginning of this week, it's when I kind of started to ramp up the training again. And I'm actually enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, the entire run and the support that I received. I can even feel it when I go into the gym to get my workouts in or go to like my favorite local restaurant. People are kind of making reference to the Wimbledon run. So it's been great. I've had a couple days to kind of decompress and then right back to work on Monday and really been getting after it starting on Wednesday.
What kind of errands are we talking about? Are you talking like grocery shopping, fill up the car with gas? I mean, like normal people stuff?
Exactly. Normal people stuff. I mean, I just bought a place earlier this year and I haven't really spent that much time in it because I've been traveling so much. So there's a list of items I need to get, just small here and there, whether it's like curtains or shower curtains or bath mat, those type of things. I can run up the street to Target and get almost anything I need. So those type of things, really the things that I was excited about being able to do come the weekend.
Again, a 9-match winning streak between winning the tournament at Mallorca and then the run at Wimbledon. I'm curious, was there a moment over that stretch where you felt like, man, something's really clicked for me in my game? Or maybe it was even before that run?
I think that all year I started to feel a little bit more comfortable in my game. But I think that after that quarterfinal match in Mallorca where I saved a few match points, those matches are always important and you can use them as a bit of like a second win. Like you're like, I was on the ropes, almost lost, was able to get through it. Now from here on out, I'm playing with house money. And, you can kind of take that approach. For me, I really don't remember a certain point in particular in which I could say like, oh, things are really starting to click. My serve was really, really, now that's something that was clicking over the time in Mallorca. And I think I just kind of brought that with me all to Wimbledon, but there was never really a time. I had a couple stints in matches in which I realized I was feeling the ball really good, in which I said, oh, I'm striking it clean today. And that happens all the time. But a lot of times there's about a 10 to 15 minute stretch of it. In Wimbledon, I was able to kind of lengthen that a little bit and was able to do it for a few sets. So it was pretty cool. Those are some pretty cool moments. But no, I don't think there was one moment in particular in which I just kind of realized I have it. I just took and attacked every match individually and just tried my best to solve the problem on that day. And I think I just kind of got into a habit of it.
Your story has been well documented, not just nationally, but globally, as far as fighting through those challenger tournaments and all the things you did to get to this point. I want to talk about your time at Georgia Tech. You were the two-time ACC Player of the Year, two-time All-American. What was the most valuable thing you learned in your time on the flats?
Time management by far. I mean, and I think that's something that a lot of student athletes will attest to, that your time management skills definitely they sharpen as a student athlete. But for me, because Georgia Tech was so challenging that it required extra study hall hours for certain classes. It required, extra time talking to TAs and having to manage all of those things academically while still trying to excel athletically. It made for a very, very fine balance. And there wasn't that much free time. So I think getting into use and kind of building a routine are two things that really, really helped me out, and things that I learned at Tech, but they all kind of stem from time management.
Well, between being a student at Tech and a student athlete at Tech, I mean, you got, like you said, not a lot of time. You were also an intern in the sports information office. The two of us worked together. What propelled you to take on that extra responsibility and work inside the athletic association?
If I'm being honest, so I loved basketball, and I always wanted a way to be able to sit and stand courtside at every basketball game without having to be there super early, because we practiced right across the street. So the games would end. Say we practiced up until about 6, we shower, everything, gates open at the arena at 6:30. If you're not one of those first students in there, you may not be able to get that close. And the student section is fine, but it's I like being close. I like kind of being on the floor. So that was kind of my way in. I think I reached out to Mike Stamus, and I said, hey, you guys have anything I could do to just be around? And he said, hey, you could run stats during the TV timeouts. I said, great. So that means I had a pass for every single basketball game. I could come in 5 minutes before the game. As long as I was there at the first TV timeout, I was fine. So that's what motivated me to do that, just because I wanted to have good seats to every basketball game.
And I've told people this. I think everyone involved with Georgia Tech who knows you personally has echoed this, that you're such a huge part of the heartbeat of Georgia Tech. Long before just this past month. I mean, you would come to football games regularly, occasionally lead a pregame cheer. You'd throw out a first pitch at a baseball game. And you mentioned Georgia Tech family at the top of this interview. Why does Georgia Tech feel so much like a family to you?
I think for me, there's just something special about personally about being in school in the city in which I've grown up. It's like I didn't have to travel too far. It was like, wow, my high school is about 25 minutes away. My parents' house is about 20 minutes away. Like, it's all really, really close. And so I think there's something to be said for being a true Atlantan, being born here, going to high school here, middle, elementary, high school, and then going to college. I think that makes Georgia Tech already in itself very special. But even being the hometown kid, I've always felt a warmth of support from the Georgia Tech family. And I don't know if it was, so much result oriented because I did well early in my time at Tech and then all the way throughout my career, or if it was just there's a hometown kid who's here and he's trying, and there's just something about the Georgia Tech family that has always made me feel welcome, from the time of being recruited, from the time I started as a student athlete, and even in my time in which I've gone and began to play professional. It's tough to like really voice and give you like an actual word on like what it is. There's just a special feeling. And whether it's the alumni, whether it's the donors, whoever it is, they just seem to have a genuine care for me throughout my career, academically, athletically, and even on professionally. They've always just kind of surrounded me and even in passing in conversation, hey, keep it up. We're following you, supporting people who I've never even met. And to me, that just makes it does make it feel like a family. It makes me feel like the people around Georgia Tech actually care, and the relationships that I've built at Georgia Tech, a lot of it with you as well, are going to stand the test of time and last a lifetime. So there's just something, I can't really voice it as to one thing in particular, but they've just always surrounded me and made me feel so special, made me feel really welcome. And I just thank them for it. So.
Well, the Atlanta Open is coming up this coming week. That'll be the first event you play in since Wimbledon. And hearing your answer there, I can imagine why that was an opportunity you didn't want to pass up. But what can we look forward to this coming week? I know the draw will be announced shortly. What does it mean to you get a chance to play that first tournament after that run in your hometown?
It's going to be, I think that's something not a lot of players get to have, already having a tournament in their hometown, but to let that be the first tournament after a run like a Wimbledon quarterfinal, like that's going to be special. I joked with some friends and I said, man, I feel like Atlanta is going to be a bit of a circus this year, just because of all of the messages that I've received, from Mallorca to Wimbledon. Now I'm actually going to see a lot of those people. So being able to catch up with them and, talk about old times and good times, that's going to be fun, but it's going to be a little bit difficult, I think, for me to still be able to lock back in to focus on tennis. So I'm going to try my best to treat it like any other tournament, but I'm pretty confident that when I step foot on court for that very first match, it might be a pretty emotional time.
Well, Chris, on behalf of all of the Georgia Tech community, and you've mentioned it, we are all so proud of you. We've loved watching your success, not just these last couple of weeks, but over the past many years. And I'm excited the rest of the world's getting to hear about how great Chris Eubanks is as a tennis player and a person. So, Chris, again, so proud. Thanks for joining us, and can't wait to watch you in action this week at the Atlanta Open.
Thank you so much, Wiley. Thank you so much for having me. Go Jackets.